everyone. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much for being here and for all of you who are also new to my videos. So I'm Carolyn Zaiser. I'm a channel, a distance energy healer, and a spiritual awakening mentor. And I offer these channeled messages for you from the Lightkeepers to assist you on your awakening, ascension, and your life journey. So thank you for being here today. If you would like, share, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It helps us reach more people who are in need of this information. So this past week, I've been off and on reminded of some things that they want to remind you of. So during this, what they call, they just said this to me this morning, and this might seem obvious, but they said they're really in transformative times as a collective. So, and individually, you're probably all going, yeah, that's true. So what we're going to do today is give you 3 things to walk away with that you can think about, utilize in your day-to-day. Some of them might be familiar, but I think there will always be nuggets of things that you can take away. So the very first one is why we're here. One of the reasons, one of the most important reasons why we're here. And that is meaning, incarnating. Meaning that we are here to learn how to manage our emotions, to be able to manage our energy, all right? Because if you think about it, our emotions are what will either shoot lightning bolts out, send a nice ripple effect out through the collective, or just stuff down inside of us, right? So here's the thing to remember of this little nugget. And I think this is such a good way of thinking about this. So what does it mean, managing our emotions? Well, first of all, we have a feeling, all right? So the feeling happens, all right? That's the thing that we are to study, analyze, understand before we turn it into energy in motion, which is emotion, okay? So as we think about how many of us in our lifetime, oftentimes, a lot of the collective, obviously, it's just kind of a human thing where we feel a feeling and we put energy in emotion, energy into motion, and we create an emotion. So that's the action behind the feeling generated from what we do with it, okay? So you can look out there in the outside world, the collective, and see that so much is reactionary, right? I guess you could take road rage as a great example. You know, there's examples every single day. It's kind of fun to study this and to watch this happen because those reactionary kinds of things, even in ourselves, and we do it all the time, right? Even maybe in small ways, we start to realize how uncomfortable that feels as we go through our awakening and our ascension journey, and that we know we're reacting rather than when the thing happens, feel the feeling. Feel the feeling. And some of it is happening right as we are encountering the thing causing the feeling. So that can be where we're really reactionary, right? But that doesn't mean you don't act. It's what comes out of you that creates that energy and motion, the emotion. What are you going to present out from that feeling? Or do you even need to do that? Now, this is not about internalizing that feeling and stuffing it down. It's about understanding it from an internal perspective. Why am I feeling what I'm feeling from what just happened? Now, that doesn't also mean that we don't act, all right? So keep that in mind. It's that we act from a place of, I just heard lucidity. I'm not even sure I know what that word is. Lucidity. Yeah, okay. So anyway, what they really want you to remember, particularly in these times, because a lot of people are getting super activated emotionally, and we can get pulled into that. It doesn't matter how flying you are, how much work you've done. We're still human, right? So this also goes to what we expose ourselves to, right? But every day we're exposed to the rest of humankind and ourselves as well. So, you know, we can even create an emotion out of something that happened with just ourselves, all right? We have a feeling about something that we did. I don't know, it can be just as silly as, Okay, I'm going to make this up, kind of. I'm a gardener, right? So it's just me. I'm out in my garden and I'm trying to pot plants and everything, and I dump a whole pot over and it breaks. Okay. I mean, this is how granular it can get. And it's a great way to do a study and to understand how to manage your feelings so that they can turn into more lucid emotions or actions. Okay. So in the example of the pot, my first reaction always would be, oh, this is stupid, I'm so mad. And then I'll, I just would get like that. So now, I mean, I literally am, and I have kind of a fiery personality, and particularly with myself, I used to be super hard on myself. What now I would do, and I've actually been out gardening a lot lately, so I've had a few mishaps. I'll just breathe, and depending on the day, I'll just be kind of like, oh, okay, well, that just adds one more thing I have to do. But I don't get mad and upset and call myself stupid. And then let that kind of flow into the rest of the moment. I just see it as a moment. It's not that big a deal. And it wasn't meant to be in that sense, right? It wasn't, I just pick it up and start over. But I don't let that turn into a energy in motion, which means that in that case, if I got all torqued and ticked off at myself, I could ruin my whole day gardening, right? And just add to that. And then, of course, our energy in motion is energy in motion that can cause more of that energy in motion of the same vibration to happen or to continue. So what we want to do is be able to feel the feeling, understand where it's coming from, give ourselves and others grace, oftentimes, right? Doesn't mean you don't act, doesn't mean you don't speak. How are you going to do that? So that's where you then create that space. You know, we've talked about the observer effect. In this case, what we're doing is we're taking the feeling that we feel, we're giving ourselves a moment, and we're really putting it into the context of everything else in the world, right? And in our journey. And being able to go, okay, and here's how I will present out through the emotion, right? The action. It's actually the action, right? So what you really want to think about is these little things that we get all jacked up about, or those are the ones that can be so insidious and then cause us to have a whole day of that. And what have we done for the collective? We've just added, not just to mention us, we've added more energy and motion that does not serve. And just remember, it's a ripple effect. Trigger, 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 everyone else. Trigger, 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 everyone else. So if in like a situation where you're driving down the road, which can happen often, and somebody does a really dumb thing, I mean, if you're going to act out and let them know you're acting out and let them know you're torqued off, how's that going to make you feel, first of all? Secondarily, what's that going to do for them then as they move forward, right? It just is a ripple effect. Again, I'm not saying we don't, how do I want to say, depending on the situation, that we don't act or speak up. And in my cases, these are two very minor things, right? But they give you an example of what can just create a snowball's effect of a feeling that's internal turning into an emotion, an energy in motion that is the reaction and presented out. That's the tangible thing, right? So we are here as a collective to learn to manage our emotions. Think about that. If every single person was able to do that and step back and reflect and feel the feeling and understand where it's coming from and why. And it doesn't take that long often to do this, right? If we did, do you think we would have any wars? Do you think we would have any of this? Do you think we would have any of the crime that we have? Or whatever it is, things would turn on a dime so fast if people were able to do that. We are moving in that direction. I know it looks like it's not happening, but as we know, and I'm not going to go into this again, we know that we got the breakdown and the buildup of the new earth versus the old, okay? It's all happening at once right now. Okay, that's the first one, all right? That's the first one to remember and employ in these times. It's really kind of fun to practice too, okay? So it's about your feeling, how you're handling that, and then what energy you put in motion. Okay, that's the first one. The second one, let's see. Oh, I'll just do this one next. I think I've mentioned this previously, haven't really talked, I don't think a lot about it, but it deserves another discussion. As we've talked about in the past, this journey is about coming into literally faith and trust and surrender and flow and letting go. But that is a journey to get there. More so for some than others, okay? But a journey to knowing that when you're in difficult times, or say you have a repetitive pattern of things, and we'll just use the financial construct because a lot of people are dealing with that right now, right? And it's a construct we're all facing in one way or another, and as a collective, because we made it so important, right? So it is there as an ascension tool. So with the financial construct, we can often, since it's a biggie for us, we will be brought time after time, opportunity to look at, oh my gosh, my financial means, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to, oh my gosh. And this is where your biggest thing will show up as often as a repeated pattern to allow you to look deeply into that and let go of the things you're still holding on to that you feel only you can control and that you have to work hard at. When in reality, what we have is we have God, source, spirit, the universe, whatever you want to call your higher power, your team, yourself, right? Your higher self, aligning with you as you're going through your spiritual awakening because you're raising in frequency and vibration. And guess what? Aligning with you because now you're also working on faith, trust, letting go, and not carrying the burden on your own. You're not meant to carry the burden on your own. And as you let that go and you practice that over time, sometimes we get beaten down so far that we have not. I mean, we've all probably been in this circumstance where it's just like, okay, I can't do anything. I can't do this anymore. It's the same thing. I can't do this anymore. And then you let go and things start changing and shifting because guess what? We don't put that control energy out there, right? So as we get closer to that, allowing that, guess what? We get to work more hand in hand. And you start to see that when you step back and you continue to do your work day to day, whatever it is, working on, I don't know, like paying off debts or coming up with a plan or whatever it is without that heavy emotion, again, back to emotion and that feeling, right? That hasn't been processed. If we let this go and then we surrender literally. And any of you who grew up in a faith-based religion, right, know that most of it's about, bottom line, it's about faith and trust. They always talk about faith and trust, faith and trust. Well, this is kind of the bottom line of this, faith and trust, right? And we're not alone. We are here being supported by all that is, by your higher self, by the universe, whatever you want to call it, right? It is real. It is real, and so many of you have felt it. But the hard nut to crack is that letting go part of like true surrender, faith, and trust. And I thought I'd gotten there until I had a big old beat down. Oh, well, I've had a beat down. I've told you this in the financial construct arena for quite some time, right? And it's my big journey and my big learning. But now when these things come my way, which I'm telling you, they haven't ended. I just kind of go, okay, this is what it is. I'll be taken care of. And invariably, I always am. I always am. But what I would do with myself previously is I would work myself up into a tizzy. I'd be a wreck. I'd be doing all these kinds of things, trying to figure out, oh my gosh, now I've got to replace this in the house. Now I've got to replace that. Now it's just kind of, okay, it's going to work out. And it does. And it does. So anyway, surrender, faith, and trust, and really letting go and allowing that vibration that wants to reach you to allow you to flow like the leaf on the stream. It doesn't mean we still don't have our things to deal with. It's all in how we deal with it and realizing that we do have that support. So anyway, not the reason I bring this up, but therefore I want to reference this book. It's Not Your Money. I talk to my clients about this book all the time. Tasha Silver. It's a magical way it showed up for me. I think I had mentioned how I'd received a prayer, a channeled prayer, through some other method. I don't remember what it was. Might have been Instagram. I don't know. But remember, I'm not out there that much, out in the world. And when I get stuff, I know it's like, oh, this is meant to be. Anyway, I got the prayer. I thought it was cool. A week later, my friend says to me, and we were talking about, a whole different topic. She said, you need to read Tasha Silver's It's Not Your Money. I'm like, okay. Because we're talking about financials and things that we're spending money on, and I had some big house thing going on at the time, right? This was last August. Anyway, I buy the book, which I barely ever buy books, all right? Just because I don't. I'm a library person. I bought the book. By the way, I bought it for $11, I think it was, off of Goodreads. I start to read it. I also don't have a lot of time to read books, so it's a miracle I read this book. And she's a great writer, by the way. She's funny, she's awakened, and she's an easy read. I get to the first chapter, or it's actually week 1. She does an 8-week deal. Guess what? There's the channeled prayer that she suggests to say every day. And I'm going to tell you right now, the minute I started it, and I now have it memorized, said every morning, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful prayer or poem or whatever you want to call it. There is something within that channeled information. As we know, channeling is encoded, okay? I think most of you know that. It's encoded. It's meant to be brought to us. This is channeled. And I'm going to tell you right now, talk about shifting energy. It doesn't mean you're not still doing your work, but it shifts your energy, and it talks about surrender. It's all about that. It's about allowing yourself to be able to receive and give at the same time and surrender too. Okay? So this is a beautiful book about how to do all this. And it's not just about money. The premise is money, but she uses many other examples about surrender, faith, and trust. So I'm going to recommend this book. It's an 8-week step-by-step kind of thing you can do that she has you go through. What you're going to find, many of you have been going through this journey for a while, you're going to find that you're familiar with some of these. What I did was I just read the whole book first. And then I went back and I'm like, you'll know what parts you need. And I took the prayer, and that's what I incorporated. And there are many other wonderful things, particularly those of you who, may just be starting this journey and don't understand it. And again, we're all going to have typically all of us going to have a financial construct to deal with, especially in these times, okay? Because remember, that whole thing, we've talked about this before, that's what faith and trust is built on in the Western world primarily, and probably the world now, is money, money, money. We know that's breaking down, but what's that going to look like? Surrender, faith, trust. Anyway, point is this is a key book, I believe, for those who are going through the awakening journey. Okay? All right, there's that. Now we have a third one, and then we're going to wrap up. The third one is, I'm going to show this to you. A lot of you know this, especially if you are trained in Reiki, you will know this. But as we mentioned, during these times, there's a lot of swirling energy around. A lot. You guys feel it, right? You know it. You feel it, especially those who are highly empathic. And for those who, as I've talked about fairly recently, collective clearers. There are those of us who clear for the collective. Is it any wonder you then feel the energy, right? What you want to do, and it's a simple process. Again, like I said, many of you are aware of this. Super simple. You want to do a Reiki practice. It's called dry bathing. I'm going to show it to you if you don't know. Okay, I'm just going to stand up. This is so simple to do. You can do it at the end of the day. You can do it after a particularly interesting encounter. Do it as often as you want. So as someone who works in this space, I do it pretty regularly, right? Again, I forget. So I do pay the consequences because, as you know, I've talked about the fact that I'm a collective clearer and transmuter. And so I really have to be on point with all of this. Anyway, point is here we go. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to have So what you're going to do, and you're not going to see my whole body, but I think you can see my arms, is you're going to have your arms out. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your right hand and you're going to swipe across. And then you're going to take your left hand and you're going to swipe across. And then you're going to take your right hand and you're going to swipe across. Okay? That's 3 times. It's important that it's 3 because that's a divine number. Then you're going to take your right hand and you're going to swipe down straight on your left arm. Then you're going to take your left hand, you're going to swipe down straight on your right arm. And then you're going to take your right hand again, you're going to swipe down straight on your left arm. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take that energy, okay, cords, whatever you want to call it, and I do this, kind of pull them together. And then I'm pretty violent about mine. I don't know why. You don't have to be. I just have a lot of energy when I put it into mine. Not angry energy. It's just there's a lot of energy. Anyway, and then what you do is chop, 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 really, like a 3 times. And then what I do is and this is where I get chills big time. I breathe and then I transmute it out, clear it out into the earth. And then I do this thing of clearing it out into the ethers as well. And then I add something. I do this whole house. And then I come back and I do this and I say, and so it is. That's it. Now, I've added a couple little things. You can do that too, right? I always get chills. I just got chills again when I do that. And that's it. You go in with the intention of you're going to clear yourself, right? It has been profound for me. It's like a little added, it's like an added daily, or more frequent than maybe daily piece that I do. In addition to, like I've told you guys, the meditation that I do at night. And you're very familiar with that if you've been watching me. So those are 3 things that they wanted me to remind you of. The ability to understand our feelings and manage our energy in motion, emotion. The ability to surrender, allow, and let go in a very profound way and see the magic open up when you do. And you might be surprised. You might think you have until you realize you haven't fully. It's that deep. And then we have the clearing practice for energy each day. All right? So I think that's it today. We're getting ready for, can you believe it? The May energy update. So we've got spring here in Iowa. It's absolutely gorgeous day. I hope to get out and do some gardening. Really feeling a lot of profound energy in growing my own food, which I've had struggles with over time. I can't grow a tomato for the life of me. I'm a really good gardener, honestly. I have a beautiful yard with perennials and flowers, but the growing your own food part, onions and garlic are what I'm working on right now, and it's pretty incredible what's been happening since I planted the garlic in fall. And so now the onions are in and doing the lettuce. And so hopefully you guys can get out and enjoy this weather wherever you are. I know many of you have moving into your winter. Those of you in the southern hemisphere and those of us in the northern are so happy. Anyway, I wish you well. I will see you in about another week for the May energy update. And again, feel free to comment if you have other things that you do on a daily basis that you would like to share that are helpful to the collective. All right, thank you, everybody. I appreciate you. And check out purplerainhealing.com for all of my services.